It's Fright Fridays. After a while of thinking and having this planned out, sit back. Nope. Sit, think, and grab a drink. Go and get you a Fanta, a little snack. So a thing of hot fries. And just to side it off, get you a water with a Fanta, and get you a Philly cheesesteak. All right, first we. How loud it is.
Once upon a star, there lived a boy named Caleb. He was a happy little tot of 6 years old, and on his birthday, he received a very special gift. His very own photo camera. Caleb loved the camera so much that he took it out every day, snapping photos of anything he could. A picture here, a picture there, until one day, a terrible accident happened. And the camera broke.
This is not even scary, bro.
Caleb didn't sleep a wink. Haunted by thoughts of his once perfect camera late into the night. That was when a sudden sound caught his attention. And there stood on the other side of Caelan's bedroom window.
Oh, this is boring, bro.
A large winged creature. Hello there, young lad, greeted the creature. I'm the Kipsneed, your sleep fairy. Sleep fairy? That is correct, replied the Kipsneed. My job is to make sure you get a good night's sleep, but it's come to my attention that you haven't been resting at all lately. I'd like to know the reason why. Caleb had never heard of a sleep fairy. My parents told me not to talk to strangers. Strangers? I'm no stranger. I know all the girls and boys round the globe. I know their parents, their homes, their names. Why, I even know your name, Caleb. Now, would a stranger know your name? Caleb thought on it for a moment. No, I guess not. If you must know why I'm awake. It's my camera. It's broken. And just like that, tears welled up in Caelan's eyes. Let me see. Then the Kipsneed had an idea. Why don't I get this camera fixed for you? Perhaps that would help you sleep easy. Could do that? Of course, and I know just the place. A factory in my homeworld. I'll lead you to the portal. Just follow my voice. And the Kipsneed disappeared into the night. This way. Caleb followed close behind the Kipsneed, snapping photos to mark the way in case of getting lost. Over here. At last, Caleb reached a house. Seems quite abandoned, thought the boy. And dark. But there was the Kipsneed's voice again, beckoning. The portal to my home world's inside. Come along. I must have my camera fixed. So, in spite of his obvious fright, Kalen marched into the home.
Boring, bro. This night is scary. Why would you go down there? All for a camera. I bet you it's gonna be a jump scare. I don't have to think, bro. I haven't even watched this yet.
Some weeks later, authorities discovered the basement. Boy.
I can't lie, I did not get scared through it. It was a basic horror story. There was no jump scares. It was just static. So that was basically not even a horror story. So next video. Wait, before the video starts, let me start this. This is a FNAF VHS tape, and this was suggested by this guy. Alright, let's start the video. Why would you poke your head out? For some reason, I'm not getting scared at all. It wasn't scary. I just got a little bit scared at the end, and it's on max volume, so next video. I'll continue. My rating on this sucks. This wasn't even scary. Literally, the FNAF, I've seen so many other FNAF ones and it was way scarier. So, yeah. Next video.
My roommates and I were watching TV one night when all of us got hit with the munchies. They wanted to order delivery, but I felt like cooking, so I decided to save us all some money and guarantee the food would be good by making homemade hamburgers. I just had to run out and grab everything I needed for it. The only place that had all that stuff so late at night was Walmart, so I booked it over there myself while I still had some time before they closed. Luckily, it was only a few minutes away, and the parking lot seemed almost completely empty. I parked close to the front, expecting to get in and out quickly without any crowds or cars getting in my way. I sort of had tunnel vision on my task, so I didn't see anyone around. That is, until some random guy pushed past me as we both were entering the Walmart at the same time. The guy just brushed shoulders with me pretty abruptly and just ran off into the store, laughing under his breath. I didn't want to confront the guy either. He was either mentally ill or just a troublemaking teen I didn't want any problems with. I just hoped he didn't end up in the same part of the store as me. Unfortunately, when I made my way to the produce section, that weirdo was already there. He didn't have a cart or basket. It looked like he was just loitering around the cases and laughing. Then, I realized he was filming himself as he wandered around, taking close-ups of certain fruits and vegetables while giggling like a snotty little kid up to no good. It was weird as hell. Of course, I was trying my best not to stare, despite the fact it was just me and him in that section of the store. I couldn't tell exactly what he was doing, or why the potatoes and apples were so funny to him. I didn't want to get too close to him either, so I had to linger on the opposite side of the section, waiting for him to move on so I could get the stuff I wanted. Whenever he glanced over at me, we'd only make eye contact for a split second before I looked away. Even though it was only for a tiny moment, it felt like we locked eyes, and I had to tear mine away. His presence made the empty store feel packed, like I couldn't get away from him or get around him. We made eye contact 3 or 4 times, and each time I looked down until I felt like he was looking away. Then, the last time we locked eyes, I looked down, and a second later, he was right in front of me.
Stop looking at me! I'm sorry, I wasn't, I swear. What do you want from me? Huh? Nothing, I'm just trying to buy groceries, man. You disgust me. I think you deserve exactly what's coming to you. What? Stay away from me or I'll shove a cucumber up. Though I'm sure you'd enjoy it.
As quickly as that freak became a problem, he just walked away. I was completely at a loss there for a minute, but I eventually realized he wasn't coming back. I gathered everything I needed and checked out, seeing no sign of him on my way back to my car. When I got home, I told my roommates about what happened. My roommates and I laughed it off, trying not to let the incident ruin the night. I was ready to forget about it and start cooking. About an hour later, the 3 of us all had chowed down on the burgers I cooked. We cleaned up the mess in the kitchen and put away the leftover veggies, then watched TV for a little while longer before finally heading to bed. Once all the distractions were gone though, I started thinking about that freak at Walmart again. What the hell was his deal? All I could see was his gross face bearing down on me. It was like he followed me into my dreams, turning them into horrible nightmares. Suddenly, I shot awake. I thought the pain was just in my dreams, but I actually was kneeled over in agony, throwing up everything and convulsing uncontrollably. I slid off my bed and crawled over to my roommate's room to get help, but they were sick just like me. The entire apartment was in chaos. We had to call 911 and get transported to the hospital because we all thought we were going to die. The doctors told us that we must have gotten food poisoning, and they pointed to my burgers as it was the last thing we had all eaten together. For days, I felt so guilty. Even though we were recovering, I felt terrible for putting my roommates through that, and I didn't think I'd ever feel confident enough to cook again. Then, a news story broke about a guy who had gone viral for spraying pesticides and rat poison on vegetables at Walmart. When I saw his face, it was the same guy that harassed me that night. He was arrested, and I was exonerated in the eyes of my roommates. But ever since then, I still don't feel the same. If there's people like that freak blatantly poisoning food right on the shelves of the grocery store, how can I ever trust any of the food I buy? This story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a 27-year-old man named Charles Smith. Smith was involved in a viral bizarre incident where he was seen spraying grocery items with chemicals at a Walmart. He is facing charges of introducing poison, criminal damage, endangerment, and theft for his actions. Smith told police he makes as much as $10,000 a month being a troll on social media. That money may now be spent on legal fees and his $25,000 bond. Residents are disgusted, and Walmart shoppers in Mesa reacted to hearing about the man charged for spraying bug spray on food sold to customers. Smith posted the video on his TikTok and Instagram accounts. In the video, he takes a can of bug spray around the store, spraying produce and meat. Smith posted 2 update videos claiming he threw the contaminated food away, but he is seen gathering only some of the fruit and vegetables in a cart. He then rolls into a Walmart trailer parked behind the store. He has since deleted all 3 videos. Mesa police noted that the time between Smith spraying the produce and returning to put them in a cart was enough time for shoppers to pick up the contaminated produce unknowingly. Walmart in a statement said the contaminated produce was removed. Court documents say Tempe police has an active case against him. Smith had turned himself into the police on December 21st, making himself the latest in a line of internet trolls facing consequences of crimes caught on camera. Smith faces an abundance of charges for his crimes.
It was a regular night, like any other. Usually around this time, 11 p.m., I would go for my nightly walk. Get a breath of fresh air before laying down to sleep. It was a routine I had followed since I was a kid. My dad believed that connecting with nature was one of the most rewarding things you could do in your free time. There was a cornfield right outside my house, as I lived in a very farmland feel area. And I had always taken the paths created by the farmers for my walks. It was a perfect loop around the field and back. Tonight was no different. I got my flashlight, my shoes, and I was out the door. Now, I had always been careful when walking by myself, as I knew the dangers of being alone as a woman, especially at night. However, I lived in a fairly safe area. Yet, something seemed off tonight. It wasn't uncommon to hear sounds within the cornfield, as there were many creatures who would make their homes in there. Rabbits, cats, mice. But tonight, the sound seemed to bother me a little extra. I decided I was being paranoid, and continued. Oh my gosh, what the heck is that awful smell? Is there a dead animal nearby? I think a rabbit may have died here. The smell is coming from right behind this opening.
lights. Wait for the all clear from school officials or local authorities. Lockdown. Lockdown.
First and foremost, I want to say that I can't stand bullies, or bullying in general. I don't say all this because I was bullied, or because I saw some anti-bullying PSA. I say it because bullying led to one of the scariest moments of my life. When I was in high school, I was just an average dude, so I just kind of blended in with the rest of the kids. However, that wasn't the case for this guy named Larry. Larry got picked on all the time by everyone, from the mean girls to the jocks, basically everyone at the school. Larry was known as the quiet loner with no friends. He had the look of a typical nerdy shut-in, thick framed glasses, the braces, the hairstyle. Just about everything about him made him an easy target for the bullies. All in all, the guy was harmless, which is why he was easily the most bullied kid in school. Year after year, it only seemed to get worse. I even witnessed an interaction at lunch one day between a couple of seniors and a group of freshmen, where the older kids were basically indoctrinating the freshies into the tradition of picking on Larry. It made me sick to my stomach, and no one really stood up for him, because they didn't want to be the next target. But it was around that time that I finally started sticking up for Larry. It severely damaged my reputation, but I didn't care. I could tell it was making life just a little bit easier for Larry, so I kept doing it. I managed to get people to lay off of him in the 2 classes we had together that year, but I knew that people were probably being even nastier when I wasn't around. That's just how vicious my school was at the time. One day, I decided to ditch my friends and sit with Larry during lunch for once. He had sat alone every single day for years, and I wanted to change that. For the next 15 minutes or so, we talked about random things, basically whatever Larry wanted to talk about. It was mostly about his physics homework and comic book stuff, but it felt like I was getting to know him on a basic level that nobody had ever even bothered to do. There was something I wanted to ask him about from the very beginning though. I waited for what seemed like the right moment, but when I mentioned it, he started talking and acting strange as hell.
So, Larry, how's everyone been treating you lately? I'm sick of them. Every last one of them. I see. Well, what if some of them became your friends? Are you my friend? Yeah, of course I am. Friends are supposed to share their secrets with each other, right? Yeah, sure. You promise you won't tell anyone, right? Yeah, I won't tell anyone. Alright. Here, look in my bag.
I only saw it for a second before Larry zipped his bag back up, but it was unmistakable. Larry had possession of a firearm. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My blood ran cold, but I tried to act like it wasn't a huge deal, just so I could ask him the questions I needed to. With every answer, I became more terrified of Larry. He said he was planning to use it soon, not at a range against targets, but at school, on the students, and anyone who tried to get in his way. He said all this while remaining perfectly calm, like he'd been considering it for a long time. I knew this was likely not the first day he had brought it to school either. When the bell finally rang ending the lunch break, I told Larry I'd see him later. That's when I got up and walked away, trying to keep my composure. Our next classes were in opposite directions, so I thankfully didn't have to walk with him. I kept my cool and walked normally until I was around the corner and out of his line of sight. Then I ran like hell to the office. Part of me still felt bad about doing it, but I immediately snitched on Larry, knowing I realistically had no other choice. Not even a minute later, the lockdown alarm was activated. Everybody was still getting out of lunch when the lockdown was called, so I watched it from the office as everyone started screaming and running, trying to find the nearest room to hide in. The cops that arrived shortly after searched the school for Larry, but he was nowhere to be found. It turns out that he ran home as soon as the lockdown started, so there's no doubt in my mind that he already knew I ratted on him. He was later arrested in his house, and since then, I haven't heard or seen Larry since. I don't know how long he spent in juvie or jail, but the district made sure he never came back to the same school he was planning to attack. Seeing the stories on the news about how many students have snapped from all the bullying and done the unthinkable, I believe a lot of people could have gotten hurt if I had not acted. Years have passed since this happened. Everyone graduated and moved on to adulthood, but nobody knows what happened to Larry. To this day, I live with the lingering fear that he will someday come after me to take his revenge.
Let me get you a cold one. Try one of these. That is the best buffalo wing in the county.
You eat buffalo?
No, it's just chicken.
This story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding an 18-year-old man who was arrested and charged after 2 school lockdowns in Regina, where the accused allegedly revealed a firearm to a student. A Regina Police Service school resource officer was notified of.
So, that's Fright Fridays, and I hope y'all enjoyed, and whoever's still here, and the Gut fans, go ahead, subscribe, like, and just one more thing.
Something red.